Hi, my name is Dr. Tishawn. In this video, we are going to write equations of circles. We're going to be going from expanded form to standard form where we can pull the center, the radius, and sketch it. So before I begin though, I am in my backyard, so please pardon any background noises. It is just such a beautiful day out here, so I love making videos out back, but we do have airplanes flying overhead and so on, so please pardon any background noises. Okay, let's take a look at the equation of the circle. In standard form, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared, where the center is hk, the radius is r. Where does all that come from? Okay, so where does all that come from? Well, let's look at the circle I drew here for you. Okay, the point on the circle is called xy, and the center we call hk. That's just standardly what we call centers of circle ellipse. When you study conic section, hk is the center. And then the radius r, okay? So what can we do to relate these? Well, do you remember from algebra class, you had a distance formula, okay? All right, so do you remember your distance formula from an algebra class? Okay, so your distance formula, that was the long radical expression, right, where you're going to subtract x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared, and then your y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. Distance formula, okay, it was derived from the Pythagorean theorem. You learned that back in an algebra class, okay? So what are we doing here? To generate this standard form equation, we are just finding the length of the radius, okay? Your distance formula helps you find the length of a line segment in a Cartesian plane. We want the length of the radius, so instead of d equals, we'll put r equals, we want the length of the radius. What is the length of the radius? Okay, so we'll, under the radical, we're going to subtract the x coordinates quantity squared, and we're going to subtract the y coordinates quantity squared. Your x coordinates here are going to be x and h for the x coordinates, substitute those in. And your y coordinates here are going to be y and k, substitute those in. And so you can see it kind of taking shape here, okay? Except for your standard form of the circle doesn't have a radical expression in there. So what can we do to remove the radical expression? Well, square both sides of this equation. When you square the left side, you have your radius squared, okay? And then when we square the right side, we have x minus h quantity squared and y minus k quantity squared, and the radical expression goes away. So here is the equation of our circle in standard form, okay? Where does it come from? It's just the distance formula between, finding the distance between the center and a point on the circle. So we take that, and that is where the formula, that's where the standard form equation comes from. Note that the center is hk, but inside the formula, it's like a different negative h, negative k, okay? So when you pull the center, you're going to have to, whatever the sign is inside the binomials, you're going to have to change the sign to pull the center. You see that? And then the radius, to pull the radius, well, this is the radius squared out here, right? The distance squared, because we removed the radical, we had to square it. So to pull the radius, you're going to take the square root of the number on the right-hand side, okay? Or where the constant is, okay? So let's take a look at an example. X squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y minus 20 equals 0. This is expanded form. It's an equation of a circle. If we want to sketch the circle, we need the center, we need the radius. And how do we find the center and the radius? Well, you need to write it in standard form. Take a look at standard form, okay? What is standard form? What do we need to do to write expanded form to standard form? Okay, this equation tells us exactly what we need to do. Look at it, okay? Look at it. We need to group the x's together, and we need to group the y's together, and then we need to take our constants and put them on the other side of the equal sign, okay? So look at this. We need to regroup. We're going to have to put the x's together, the y's together, numbers on the other side, okay? So we're going to need to regroup, and then we're going to need to do an algebra technique called complete the square, okay? So how do we complete the square? I think I have a little tiny space down here. Let me just a quick algebra review, because sometimes that's where my students will stumble up, if they're going to stumble up anywhere, okay? So quick review, okay? All right, so a quick review on complete the square. So complete the square from an algebra class, okay? So a quick review on complete the square, okay? So I'm going to take an example. I'm going to just take the example x squared, okay? So let's use x squared plus 6x plus 3, okay? Now let's say we want to complete the square here. We want to complete the square, okay? So what do we do first? We're going to regroup. Just look at what the formula up here does, okay? We're going to group the x's together, and we're going to move the constant to the other side. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, put the 3 on the other side. We're going to group the x's together, so you have x squared plus 6x, okay? So you can put grouping symbols or leave a space, okay? And then the negative 3 is on the other side, okay? And then what do we need to do to complete the square? Do you remember that you take half of whatever the b term is, you take b over 2, right? Remember, so ax squared plus bx plus c. So you take half of 6 is 3, you take half and then square that, okay? So so take half of positive 6 is positive 3, square it, and you get a plus 9. Okay, so whatever you do to the left side, okay, keep everything balanced, you have to do the same thing to the right side. Okay, so add 9 to both sides, all right? And then now, how do I write this as a binomial squared? This is my x binomial, okay? So I'm going to write this as my x binomial. So this is your x binomial. So you're going to have x, take the square root of x squared. And then what number goes in here with that? Well, half of positive 6. What your b over 2 number was, positive 3, that's what goes in here. On the right-hand side, you have 9 minus 3, negative 3 plus 9, so you have a positive 6, okay? So, and then we're not solving this. I'm just trying to show you the technique of what we need to use, the algebra strategy that we need to use to write our expanded form into our standard form. This is how you complete the square. All right, so this expression right here, x squared plus 6x plus 3 equals 0, and this right here, x plus 3 quantity squared equals 6. Same thing. If you multiply this out, you take x plus 3 times x plus 3, multiply it out, and move terms over, you're going to get what we started with. Okay, so we can't, we can change the form of things, but we can't change the value of them. All right. So let's put it together. Let's put it together. So look at example number 1 here. So what do we want to do first? Okay, look at it. We want to write expanded form and standard form. We want to start by regrouping. We want to regroup. Okay, so we're going to regroup. We're going to put the x's together. So you're going to write x squared plus 4x. Okay, regroup. Put the x's together. Leave the space. Okay, and then you're going to put the y's together. So group the y's. Y squared plus 2y. All right, leave a space and then move the 20 to the other side. So you're going to add 20 to both sides, okay? So move the 20 to the other side, all right? So we added 20, I'll write it here. So we added 20 to both sides. So you regroup, and you start by putting your x's together, group your y's together, because you see it taking form, all right? Now complete the square, How do we complete the square? Take half of positive 4 is positive 2, square it. So you get a plus 4. Whatever you do to the left side of an equation, keep everything balanced, we have to do to the right, okay? All right, and we have to complete the square again with the y terms, okay? Complete the square. How do we complete the square? Take half of positive 2. Half of positive 2 is positive 1. Positive, square it, so plus 1. Whatever we do to the left side, you have to also add 1 to the right side, keep the equation balanced, okay? So now let's see what we have here. So here is our x binomial squared, and here is our y binomial squared. Our x binomial, okay? Now what number goes in here? Well, b over 2. What is half of positive 4? Positive 2. That's what x binomial, that's what goes in here, okay? What about our y binomial? Y. All right, and then what goes in here? What's the number I need with the y binomial? Half of positive 2 is a positive 1, okay? All right, so if you take x plus 2 times x plus 2 and multiply it out, distribute it, you're going to get x squared plus 4x plus 4 is what you're going to end up with, okay? Same thing here. So if you take y plus 1, and multiply the two factors together, distributive property, you're going to be here, okay? So this is how, and then 20 plus 4 plus 1, so this is 25, okay? So we are writing the equation from expanded form to standard form. Now notice your equation, two steps, okay? So we got the equation using the factor by grouping concept, and we our equation in 2 steps, okay? Now we're not done yet, because what is the center? Let's pull the center so we can see what the graph looks like, okay? So what is the center? Well, the center, now we're going to look for the HK, okay? This is a minus h and a minus k, so the h, well, so it's going to be negative 2, isn't it? Okay, so you have to change the sign, and that's going to be a negative 1. So your center is at negative 2, negative 1, okay? So remember how we derived the formula. HK is where the center of the circle is when we plugged it in. Changes the sign. So you're going to have to change the sign. So change the sign, -2, -1. Okay. What about the radius? Okay. Well, in your formula, the radius squared is 25. We don't want the radius squared. We want the radius, so it would be 5. Okay. All right. And then what is a sketch? What would a sketch look like? Okay. We want to sketch our circle. Okay. And this is just a rough sketch, right? So you're going to go left 2 and down 1, and this is where we're plotting the center of the circle. Okay, so left 2 and down 1 to plot the center of the circle, left 2 and down 1. Radius is 5. So we went left 2 and down 1, so you got to go 5 in each direction. Okay, so 5 to the left and 5 to the right, 5 up, 5 down, and you draw your circle. Okay, so that's about what the circle would look like. Okay, that's just a rough sketch. Okay, but this is how you would actually go from expanded form to standard form. Okay, so if you have expanded form, you have to utilize complete the square from your algebra class. Okay, and then keep in mind that the distance, the formula, the equation comes from the distance formula. Okay, if this is enough for you, I'm going to stay on. I'm going to do 2 more examples. Okay, so on the backboard here, I have 2 more examples that I would like to go through. So see if you need a couple more examples. Okay. So let me go ahead and flip the board around so we can do 2 more examples on the backboard. Okay. So we want to write the equation of the circle in standard form. Repetition is always good. Practice, 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 right? Okay. So we want to write the equation. Now your formulas, of course, are on the other side of the board, but we want to write the equation in standard form. So remember what we had to do first? We have to regroup. Group the x's together, group the y's together, and then move the constant on the other side. Okay. So let's regroup. Okay. So we're going to move the 9 to the other side, subtract 9 from both sides, all right? And we're going to regroup. Group the x's together. What do we have for the x's? Okay, so we have x squared minus 6x, and leave space. Okay, regroup. We have y squared plus 2y. Okay, leave a space, and then on the right hand side, because we're moving the 9 over, -9. Okay, so you group the x's together, leave a space. All right, group the y's together, leave a space. All right, and then add the constant to the other side, or in this case, subtract it. Complete the square. Okay, how do we complete the square? This is my b term right here to -6. Okay, so take half of -6 is -3. Square the -3, you get a +9. Whatever you do to the left side of the equation, same thing, add the 9 to the right side. Keep it balanced, okay? Now, we also have the factor by grouping with the y term, okay? So the y term, so let's see what we have here. Take half of +2 is a +1, square your +1, and you get +1. All right, so we're here, okay? So now what is so here is our x binomial, okay? Here's our x binomial, here's our y binomial, okay? All right, on the right-hand side, -9 plus 9 plus 1, the 9's cancel, so we just have 1 on the right-hand side. Let's set up our binomials on the left-hand side. So what binomial squared will achieve x squared minus 6x plus 9? Well, this is our x binomial, okay? And then what was half of b? Half of -6 was a -3. That's what goes here, okay? And then what binomial squared will achieve this trinomial? Okay, well this is our y binomial, and half of +2, +1. Okay, so here we go, equation of the circle in just 2 steps, utilizing the complete the square from your algebra class. Okay, where is the center of this circle? Where is the center? Well, change the sign, it's at a +3. Change the sign, it's at a -1. Okay, so this is +3, -1. Remember, this is x minus h, y minus k. So to get the hk, you gotta change the signs. What about the radius? Okay, well, the radius squared is 1, so the radius is going to be the square root of 1, so it's 1. Okay, and then let's go ahead and give this a sketch. Okay, so here's our y-axis and here's our x-axis. Let's give this circle a sketch. Okay, we want to start by plotting. Where does this center go? The center goes to the right 3 and down 1. This is where the center of the circle is. To the right 3 and down 1. And the radius of our circle is 1. So we went down 1 to get to the center. The radius of the circle is 1. So this circle is going to be entirely hanging off the x-axis there in the 4th quadrant, isn't it? Okay, because the radius is only 1, so you had to go down 1 to get to the center and back, you know, so 1 for the radius. So there's your sketch of your circle, okay? Just a rough sketch, but you should be able to, you know, is it in the first, second, third, fourth quadrant? Is it going to spill to all of them? You should be able to tell that by when you plot the radius in the center, okay? And then finally, let's do example 3. Looks a little bit different than example 1 and 2, okay? Example 3, we have 3x squared plus 3y squared minus 12y equals 0. So what about this, okay? When we're completing the square, we want to complete the square with the leading coefficient of 1. Do you see that you have 3x squared and 3y squared? We want to divide everything by 3 to make the coefficient be 1. We don't want it to be a 3, okay? All right, so and the coefficient on the x squared and y squared will always be the same. They'll always be the same, okay? What if the coefficient on the x squared and y squared are not the same? If they're not the same, you don't have a circle, you'd have an ellipse, okay? And this video is about circles, okay? So they're always the same. But we want to regroup and we want to complete the square, but you know what? Let's move that 3, divide every single term to the right, to the left, to the equal sign, everything. Let's divide everything by 3. All right, so what do we have here? We have x squared, the 3's cancel, right? The y, 3's cancel here, so plus y squared. And then 12 divided by 3, so that's going to be minus 4y. So you want to start by making sure that your leading coefficient on the x squared, y squared is 1. It just makes the factor by grouping so much smoother, okay? Then we regroup, okay? So we want to write the equation in standard form. So we want the x's grouped together, we want the y's grouped together, move the constant to the right-hand side, and we don't have any constants here. So you're going to group the x's together, so you just have the x squared, okay? Group the y's together, y squared minus 4y, leave a space, okay? So group the x's together, you only have an x squared, there's nothing else to group with it. Group the y squareds together, okay? Now complete the square. There's no square to complete for the x term, so we're all set here. What about the y term though? Complete the square. So take half of negative 4, that's negative 2, square the negative 2, so plus 4. Okay, whatever we do to the left side of an equation, keep everything balanced. Same thing to the right. Okay, so we're here. Now let's write our binomial squares. So right here we have x squared. Okay, all right, we didn't have to complete the square there. We need to write our y binomial squared. Okay, so what do we have here? We have y take half of negative 4, so negative 2. Okay, so if you take y minus 2 times y minus 2, multiply it out, you're going to get this trinomial. Okay, so this is how we can break it down, write it as a binomial square. The right-hand side, we have 0 plus 4 is 4. Okay, all right, standard form. This is standard form, so let's pull the center. All right, so where is the center? What do I do with this x term? Okay, so there's nothing here with it. So the center, so the x coordinate is going to be 0, and then the y coordinate is going to be changed that sign. Okay, so the center is going to be at 0, positive 2. That's where the center is going to be located. What's the radius of my circle? Well, the radius of the circle, the radius squared is 4. The radius squared is 4, so remember that's a radius squared. Take the square root. Take the square root, so it's 2. All right. So there's where the center is. Here's the radius. And let's give this one a quick sketch. Just a rough idea to see where it would lie in the xy plane. Because once you have standard form, we can graph it. Okay, we can graph it. Where does the center go? Let's see, 0 on the x and up 2 on the y. So your center is located on the y-axis. 0 on the x, up 2 on the y. Okay, radius is 2. Okay, so we had to go up 2 to get here. So the radius is 2. So this circle, okay, this circle looks like it's going to be sitting right on the origin here. Okay, so splitting the y-axis looks like it's, you know, from 0 to 4 on the y-axis. There's your diameter of the circle, right? Okay, so it looks like the y-axis is your symmetry line. But anyways, here is your circle for this problem. Okay, so equations of circles. Okay, so a bunch of examples, different styles, how to write expanded form to standard form. Okay, so when it's expanded out, you need to write in standard form. You're going to have to regroup. Okay, you saw the standard form formula, so group the x's together, group the y's together. Okay, numbers on the other side, and then just do that so you can pull your center radius. Okay, and refer to the examples. So hopefully this helps. If these videos do help you, please consider subscribing to the videos. There's a subscribe button down there. That would help me out. All right, and I appreciate that. Anyways, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Take care.